All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of 49 Volts. I am your host, as always, Josh. I have a partially assembled office. We're getting really close to being moved in, but not a moment too soon. We have a really awesome couple of guests here with us today from Thrive Logic. We have Nate Green, the CEO and founder. We also have Lou Barani. How you gentlemen doing today?
Good. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having us.
Man, thanks for coming on. So, and just so everybody knows, we have a fellow Buckeye in the group here. So not since Chad Paris have I had a fellow Ohioan on. So it's always very special to me when I've got somebody nearby. But, Nate, if you don't mind, just give us a quick introduction to yourself and, what you're doing there with Thrive Logic.
Yeah, so appreciate it, Josh. I'm Nate Green, CEO and founder of Thrive Logic. Been a systems integrator for 23 plus years, working for some of the best ones in the business. In fact, Convergent was really special to me. That's really what helped me get this inspired and see what the world was missing. And from a client standpoint, from an easy use, from a systems integrator, that's where Thrive was born.
That's great. And how about you, Lou?
Oh, I have probably just getting on 40 years of experience in the security industry. I've had numerous jobs. The top one that I can give you is the director of security for the World Trade Center from 2008 to 2012.
Wow.
I was working for the Port Authority then, and I'd just gotten back from a deployment to Iraq, and they said we need you in here, and that's where I was. So I had a pretty long learning curve there. Very interesting and very gratifying work.
What branch were you in?
Navy.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your service. So just getting started out here, Nate, tell us a little bit about what Thrive Logic is and what motivated you to found this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Josh. So I would go into these end users, huge end users with Convergent, and they had all these disparate systems. And these systems have almost been forgotten what their original purpose, their point of being is, which is to protect your brand, your property, and most important, your people. And these systems, as I would go in, when you have 5, 6 different systems trying to communicate together, it's almost impossible. And what I realize is these poor end users out there, they could barely have all 5, 6 of those systems working, much less protect them on their worst day. So I started to see this, and then I met a group called Safe Passage, taught me all kinds of risk consulting and what customers, it was different hearing it from a risk consultant when Lou would say to a risk consultant, this is what I'm faced with. These are my biggest challenges, the biggest threats. Then the risk consultant then has to feed that information back to the client, and the clients then got to hope that they can interpret that to their systems integrator to solve their challenges. So I saw that marriage and that it was a really good fit. I'm like, why don't we combine that into one? Where the risk consultant, Lou, Safe Passage, they're part of the conversations, the team, the solutioning. And instead of having to bring in 5 or 6 different manufacturers, just bring in Thrive. So it really hit me in the heart when customers would ask me for a proposal for something they already bought. They didn't even know how to use it, how to turn it on. I thought, let's build this very complex with agentic AI, computer vision, which are powerful, but let's make it with the AI bringing in the SOPs and being able to communicate on a customer level from an operator level what they need to do for those day-to-day tasks and when the worst thing happens, and being able to have that information at your fingertips. So learning that, I took it from that risk and threat matrix perspective, and I made the software do exactly what Lou needed us to do. And when you combine the electronic security with what you're faced with on a day-to-day risk management, you end up flourishing and hopefully thriving.
I love it. So you just went through a little bit of a rebrand though, right? So I think initially when you started out, you were Hive Logic, and definitely you've got some really cool branding and designs right behind you that would kind of fit in with that word. But I think you're in the process or just recently changed it to Thrive, right? Tell us about that.
So my 7-year-old daughter, we had all this cool technology. We were like, what are we going to call it? She goes, I know what to call it. Let's call it Hive. And she goes, all the bees had different jobs, but their ultimate job is to protect the hive. And I love that concept. Then we started to expand and want to grow. And it got to that original meaning. What is the point of physical security? And we all know it's about mitigating risk and threat management and awareness. So Lou joined us. And as he's educating me on, hey, this is what we needed at the World Trade Center, this is what all my peers need. I asked Lou in January, I said, what do you think about this? As you join us, as we combine forces, we call it Thrive. And we're adding threat awareness, knowing what's happening, knowing unusual behavior by your employees, by guests, by contractors. And then we educate with your background, Lou, feeding Lou's brain and experience into that agentic AI to help you manage the risks that you're facing. That's where it was born. So Lou loved the idea. We had just launched Hive last May. So ISC West, we had been a company about 4 days. So ISC West this year, we'll have a year under our belt, and we're really excited to have Lou share that joint message of why clients buy physical security in the beginning. And to me, it's a math formula. Risk equals threat times vulnerability times impact. And that's been around for years. But what we want to do is add a division line on that equation, and your countermeasure is Thrive Logic. We could be the difference between people making it home safe the way we want them to and protecting that brand on their worst day.
That's amazing. And congrats on coming up on your first year.
Thank you.
Very exciting to see. So we're both people that have been integrators and other things for many, many years. I mean, I'm a first-time business owner now. I'm going on 6 or 7 months. I mean, is this your first go around as a business owner and founder?
It is. And I'll tell you, there's days that it keeps you up all night, but when it's your baby, now my wife may disagree with me. But this has been something that I'm just so driven and I'm passionate about, and I believe in it from my core. I just believe that it's a basic human right to be able to go to church, go to school, go to your business, and come home safe. I just think as we talk about human rights in the world today, that is just as important. And that's why it was important to me to pour everything I have into this, find the subject matter experts like Lou, Scott, Omid, Jafari on our team, and combine forces to give the world something they've never experienced before.
Very exciting. So help us understand more than how this comes together and how you go to market. So is this a solution that would replace all of the existing solutions and just tie into the edge hardware? Is this something where it rides above all these disparate solutions and brings them together? Is this something where you're kind of going around the integrator and straight to the end user, or is this more something to help the integrator provide a much better experience and safer experience for the customer?
Great question. So we take a consultative approach. I'm not a fan of somebody, an end user, needing to rip and replace their technology to have one pane of glass. That's not fair to them. They've made those investments. Existing controllers make a door go click. Existing camera infrastructure is giving them visibility. We want to take that existing infrastructure and make it smart. For too long have we put up with dumb devices and disparate systems that we just hope magically work one day so that it can protect the brand and organization. We take over those existing systems, and it's not a PSIM. We flash different controllers. We take over IP streams. We then run it into our AI, make it smart. Lou goes in, interviews the clients, because the systems integrators sometimes need help. They need to know, why is that customer asking us to give them a proposal? Lou helps educate the systems integrators. The MSPs have been a great channel for us. And we help identify what the customer actually needs, what their goals are, and what's our steps to achieve them together. So when we do that, we eliminate that rip and replace pain. And some end users won't make a change because change is hard. We can go into a Genetec site, a Linnell site, a Milestone site, and in 2 hours, just this last week, we flipped a 1,000 camera system and 300 doors in 2 hours. That customer went from looking at 3-4 different panes of glass into one. But by building that trust, and that's what we're doing, we're securing the brand, the people, but we're securing trust. And we understand from an integrator standpoint, from a risk consultant standpoint, what that client needs. Then we feed that to our systems integrators and our managed service providers around the country and globe. So we're happy to announce we've hit over 60 customers. We sell through ScanSource distribution. Are you familiar with them?
Absolutely.
So, and a systems integrator can call ScanSource, say, hey, my client has had enough. They want a single pane of glass. They want to know where their threats are with your awareness engine. And we want to be able to help that client manage their risk. They can tap us in. We assist through the sales, the engineering standpoint. And then that systems integrator or MSP procures Thrive Logic hardware, software, anything that's needed to make that work through ScanSource.
No, that's great. That's a great point of distribution as well. It's a really good outfit there.
Hey, Josh,
and obviously, go ahead.
Let me give you a good example of this in a real life example. Active shooter. You know, that's one of the main problems. Everybody knows about it. There's hundreds of stories of what went wrong here, what went wrong here. But the biggest problem is that schools invest millions of dollars into technology, and we can't get that technology to the first responders. There's a barrier. There's a wall between the data that can help the first responders and what's coming out of the system. With Thrive Logic, with what Nate's done, we put all these systems together. Now we can get that into the first responders' hands. We can detect the shooter, we can track the shooter, and we can get that information to the contact officers. Their job is to close in and neutralize the threat. So you take care of that. The same information goes to evacuation officers. Now they know where the shooter is, and they can evacuate people in different areas. And now a third point, which is really, really important, you have the people that have been wounded. And because the police have to go and find and neutralize a shooter, that takes a long time. But with this capability, we've created a warm zone behind the contact officers, and now EMTs can come in and triage the wounded before they bleed out. That example is so important, and how powerful Thrive is. Nate's been able to break that barrier between data and the people who really need it, and that translates to corporate, government, anybody you want to apply this to.
That's great. And I don't know if you're aware, I used to be in the NFPA as a committee member, and I wasn't able to get on the committee I wanted to. I was on the premise security committee, but I was very concerned with Asher, the active shooter hostile event response program that NFPA is behind, which sounds like you're fitting really well with. Do you see, Lou, that the new customers are coming on board with that in mind, and they have specific results they're looking for? Are they already kind of engaging with those first responders to talk about how we can make sure that you're more integrated into the response process? Or do you find that you're having to more kind of guide them and lead them into that direction?
This is all new, so we have to guide them and lead them. You know, it's status quo. You know, what Nate's doing is out of the box, and what we have to do is educate the people that this capability is there, and that's basically it. You know, you're going to have the early adapters, you're going to have the innovators. They're going to take this in, and then once everybody understands the flexibility and the scalability of the system, it should be an easy sell.
It seems like you would have some potential. You know, I feel like Project Greenlight up in Detroit was one of the early projects that kind of inspired the Asher program, where those were already kind of configured to be available to the Detroit Police Department and really improve response time and communication. I mean, you kind of see your solution maybe going that direction where you can really kind of get involved with a whole metro area, for example, and have everybody kind of plugged in and ready. Because it seems like there was a big push for that. I heard about it a lot. And then maybe I'm just out of the loop, but I don't hear it as much as I once did. It feels like it kind of stopped during COVID.
Yeah,
I'm with you. They've experienced some problems, but I think the capability here, I mean, Nate also provides the capability for communication interoperability. So one of the problems we have is people can't talk to each other. And in a high threat situation, you don't really need to talk to each other. You just need situational awareness of where the threat is and a common operating picture where people can work off the same pane of glass. And that sets the response, that sets the SOPs, the response protocols, and that creates a more effective, more efficient response.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're actually, are you also tying into like the mass notification procedures then and able to help inform everyone that's in the building, for example, of what's going on?
Yes, sir. It's important to us that way you get the right direction based legally off that organization's SOPs, and you're guiding those human beings to safety.
So when you talk to your customers, are they saying, where's this been all my life? I mean, this sounds really great.
It's been exciting. And, thank God Convergent made this investment. When I was just a security salesman, I sold Genetec, sold Linnell. And I learned that, but I never learned why I was selling it. And Convergent invested in me to a class called Active Shooter Survival. And Jerry Wilkins taught that. And for the first time in my life, a bell went off. And he sat there and he goes, if only a camera could give law enforcement a feed on where a warm zone is, where a green zone is. Wow, is there anything to prevent that person from gaining entry? Dude, do we know any access control guys? And a light went off for me mentally. And I'm like, why isn't this combined? Why, as security integrators, aren't we taught and educated on why the customer is purchasing it in the first place? And so just Jerry inspiring me and then taking that electronic security background and applying it to something that end user wanted. Lou and I are passionate about that so that when a security integrator goes with Thrive, they're not just gaining another widget salesperson or software salesperson. They're gaining a partner that goes to the seat of the table and elevates them with that end user because we know what they need and we know why they're buying it in the first place. So that education piece is part of our package. We want that systems integrator and those sales folks and the engineers to know the original purpose of why that customer is asking them to put that together in the first place.
And when you think about all the technology we have, I mean, it doesn't seem so out of control, futuristic to imagine a world where the police are arriving. They can unlock doors that they need to unlock. With all of the cameras, they should be able to understand where their shooters are. I mean, my reason for, being passionate about it and trying to get involved with, and I think it's officially known as like NFPA 3000 that I was trying to get involved with. It was just like, remember Parkland, they're just, the police have to kind of show up, hang out outside, and everything's happening. I mean, these violent occurrences happen very quickly. So really you need to get in right away, but there's too much involved with trying to imagine or understand where the threat is, where they're moving to, are you introducing more or less risk by entering, having the ability to just kind of see in real time where they are. I mean, you could theoretically open a door and walk in right behind them, and get to them immediately.
That's exactly it.
And it feels like we have the technology. So, I mean, this is really great.
It's time. It's time. Enough with the blame game and the excuses. It's time to really, instead of security as a theater, to do real security. And it starts with that community involvement, law enforcement involvement. When we go do a school and a school becomes a Thrive partner of ours, we get the law enforcement free Bluetooth mobile credentials. That way, in that situation, those seconds, those precious seconds of fumbling around with a Knox box, trying to find the keys to access, we bypass that. And when they go live, we invite law enforcement in, show them how to use the software. And that it's not to spy on kids or teachers, it's to see it live when they need it the most. And then when that law enforcement officer can walk up to that door and he or she can get in with their phone because we've put it on there already, they're able to get to the threat so much quicker. And we're very passionate about, it's not just a technology play, it's an education play, it's a process play, and it's involvement, getting them involved in a part of it. That's how we work together.
So tell me more about, you mentioned like the agentic AI component of this. And I think the last 4 episodes, no matter what we're talking about, we arrive to the discussion about AI. It's an impossible topic to miss in today's world. Can you explain a little bit more about how your solution is using AI and how that's helping to create this benefit?
Yeah, 100%. So I was fortunate enough to meet some really good AI engineers, and analytics to me are dead. I've seen them fail for 14 years. They create more noise, and then people stop listening to them. You get alert fatigue. So we went back to the drawing board. We built our own engine called the Collector. And then there's no more camera analytics and access control analytics. We're doing them with VLMs, and that's huge. And then the VLM, what it's seeing, we put agents for video, agents for access control, agents for intrusion, agents for duress. And those all talk to that collector. And now instead of fiddling around drawing polygons and cross lines out in the parking lot that each camera takes 40 to an hour and a half to maybe get you at 70% working, our agentic AI and computer vision AI, we can put those together and with natural language. Hey, show me slip and falls that happen in 8,000 of my stores. With just saying that, I can pull those slip and falls up like that. So there's no more of this trying to get an access, a Hanwha camera to talk to the VMS, do some voodoo, grab another AI plug-in to try to do something with it. It's all one pane of glass, symbiotically talking to one another. So it makes setup so much easier. And then you're using natural language models to be able to tell the system what you want it to do. So I always give this example, but it's really simple for people to understand. I want to know piggybacking and tailgating events that happened yesterday. That's how you defeat access control for 50 years here. So with just normal cameras based off FEMA and OSHA standards, front door, exit doors, we can do real-time occupancy. And when you badge in, Josh, I know your name from your phone or your MyFair credential, and I marry that to your re-ID in our video system. So quickly, I know Josh is wearing an orange shirt today, and his name's Josh Bowman. Where's Josh now? With just natural language, where's Josh now? Josh's 3rd floor back conference room. Knowledge is power. This lives everywhere, but no one's pulling it in and doing anything with it, or you've got to buy a little specialty unit to tell you that. But where this gets smart is, I see Josh badge in, but Lou and Nate tailgate it behind him. I'm able to see quickly it's Lou and Nate. Lou's allowed in that area anyway, so that's a nuisance alarm. So let me route that to Lou. Tell Lou, shame on you. You violated our piggybacking event again. But Nate is a visitor, and he's never supposed to be in that area anyways. Alert that officer, alert security directors to go deal with that unknown person in a secured area. That's, to me, the beauty of it. It's all talking together in one pane of glass without needing the old-fashioned analytics or plugins. If you guys hear that as systems integrators, as end users, and you hear the word plugin or integration, it's not born from the start. You're trying to marry 5 things together. When you start with Thrive, out of the box, it has that relationship with those agents that you need. And think about them as like secret agents. They're all doing a role to protect your organization, and it comes out of the box day one, and there's no finger pointing. It's BriefCam's fault. No. It's Genetec's fault. Nope, it's Linnell's fault. Customers are sick of it. And as systems integrators, you're sitting there watching these boxing matches. And you know what? A lot of our customers, as cool as the AI is and all the agentic things that we're doing, they are just so tickled to death that it actually works, right? They can see it and operate it and use it. And it's been really quick adoption. But I'll tell you, Josh, just cutting out the finger pointing, that's a huge win for Thrive.
No, that's great. And I hear you mentioning the integrator over and over. And I know it means a lot to me, the success and the role of the integrators, because of having over 20 years on that side of the fence. I'm sure you pretty much have the same feeling, I would imagine. So I think what I'm hearing is that you're building this product not to cut the integrator out of the process, but actually, to enhance what they're offering to their customers.
Absolutely, man. We want them to be a part of it, right? We want them to be just as big as Thrive evangelists as we are. Because at the end of the day, the more people that call us, pick up Thrive, want to be a dealer, want to support it. I hate it having to call these big manufacturers pro services to make it work. And then they would charge the integrator for it. We handhold the pro services and go lives because a conversion that a customer's earned that trust, with the integrator, they want that to go smooth. We give our pro services away because we want that integrator to feel supported, and we want their client to have a smooth go live. And along the way, Lou and I want as many MSPs and integrators as we can, because that's more people we can actually save on their worst day.
Now, a lot of times, those of us that have been integrators, we hear the industry is accused of being slow to adopt newer technology. I mean, we've been talking about cloud adoption now for a decade, when the rest of the world pretty much already has. Are you seeing any resistance from the integrator level working with a product like this, or are they seeing the value, seeing the benefit, understanding your background and embracing it quickly?
It's been cool. It's been really cool because I'm able to put my hat on as a systems integrator and go, did you hear your client? They really don't have a cloud migration plan. And it seems like you guys maybe don't know how to get them there. I can show you. And that's where I put on that systems integrator hat. I go, look, here's the best thing. Don't dump new access control, new video, AI, agentic AI, plug this in, crawl, walk, run. And the integrator goes, okay. I go, let's get the video and access flip. Let that run 3 or 4 weeks. Now let's grab their SOPs, ingest that, and show them how it's driving their procedures. Now let's make it smart. Let's add the AI month 2, month 3. Once they're knowing how to log in and use the basics, and the systems integrators along the way are like, I got it. I now understand what agentic AI is. I know what computer vision is. Because if you dump that on a systems integrator that doesn't know how to migrate to cloud, doesn't know how to adopt new technology all at once, it's a recipe for disaster. If you stick to what they know and they feel confident with the basics, then you can start to grow and that program can flourish.
Josh, think about this. Think about a corporate overlay, right? Mm-hmm. How you apply this. You have the capability to have autonomous control over some events, routine, spur of the moment things that come up that can normally be taken care of very quickly can be done with the agentics, with the machine learning, and with the AI. So that frees up the people, the security guards to prioritize other events for human intervention, the ones that are really important. So now you're doing more with less. You've taken care of the routine stuff through Nate's capability. You're making your security department more efficient. You're cutting out the people that can't really cut it. And now you have a really tight security guard and patrol group that can attend to this. And it's being taken care of through with AI. So this is really important for companies that are having problems with security guards, with the labor force, having to do more with less. This is a big step in solving that problem.
And I am curious. I mean, obviously, Nate has so much industry experience. I think I saw you at the airport before every trade show. So you've been around the block. But obviously now, Lou, you're bringing, as someone that worked for Port Authority, you almost would represent what the end user would have experienced in a role like that. So are you finding that helpful, that you understand that perspective and, what it's like to be them and to go through a process like this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but before this, I worked my way up to in different companies and stuff like that to that position. My last position was with AIG, which was a huge learning curve because I learned the insurance aspect of risk for security. And my job there was global terrorism risk consultant. So I would go to clients that had terrorism policies and evaluate their posture on terrorist threats. So this was all part of it. How do you take care of risk? How do you respond? What's your security system? I've done terrorism surveys from the World Trade Center to Old Faithful. And it was a huge learning curve. And the biggest problems were having to deal with all the alarms, how to manage the data, how to get the data to the right people, and getting the information to the right people at the right time to make the right decisions. And what I found, and this is why I'm so passionate about Nate, going back to the World Trade Center, I try to piece them. We had all those issues. We had all those problems. We had the 9/11 Commission. Downtown New York wanted information on what was going on. The NYPD, the FDNY all wanted access to cameras and stuff like that. So I had to think about integration. And I was an early innovator of PSAMs. They had their real problems. And, not to talk about PSAMs anymore because we all have PSAM fatigue, but Nate's capability is to be able to create a true ecosystem. Not just integration. This is a system of systems ecosystem that manages any number of issues quickly and effectively.
Not to throw you a curveball, but I've done some interviews with some of the drone manufacturers that are out there. And I'm very intrigued and enthusiastic about our future. I know some people see it the other way, but I imagine a world where, as we start to have AI make things kind of real time and seamless and allows things to happen in the background without human intervention. I mean, do you think we're looking at a world in the very near future? I mean, I've heard, AGI, which is the more true autonomous technology, the idea of this truly artificial, brilliance, I would call it, of robots. I'm hearing predictions that will occur within the next 4 years. I mean, are we looking in the near horizon of a future where we can really enhance our response to issues by having both robots, drones, and other technology be able to respond in real time and save lives?
Lou, what's your thoughts on that? Then I'll go next.
Sure. I mean, any tool we can get a hold of to save a life is important. I mean, there are companies that are already using drones to attack active shooters.
Mm-hmm.
You see that. Robotics. I mean, I was in a restaurant and I had my food served by a robot a couple of months ago. So it's here. It's going to happen, and it's how we use it, how we integrate it into an ecosystem where we do the threat assessment, we do the vulnerability assessment, and we apply a countermeasure that's run by Thrive Logic, and gets us the best result, the best outcome. I mean, like Nate said before, we have two key performance indicators. And that's active shooters stopped and lives saved. And that applies to workplace violence. That applies to, things we can do with corporations. If you really think about the idea of having multiple experts on your staff, that's what Thrive Logic gives you. And it's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Nothing's going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah, and Josh, to talk about how that new technology emerging would tie in with us, based on the threats that we're receiving every day from HR, from what's coming in on the web, from unusual behavior, I could see us in the very near future writing guard tours for drones, for robots, to follow our AI-driven guard tours based off what the threats they're seeing that day. And one thing that I think is really important to realize is as the FCC figures out what they're doing with the rules and regulations, one of the things that I kind of have a vision for is being able to put rooftop cameras on drone pathways. And what I didn't realize is first responders roll the brigades in a lot of small municipalities and cities on a fender bender because they don't know, they don't have that knowledge, they don't have that awareness. If we can put cameras rooftop and that operator can still meet the FCC guidelines, we may be able to get a drone in a few seconds to an incident and know, do I need the full fire truck, 2 ambulances, or do I just need the small truck? And just doing that, the cost savings of rolling that whole crew for a small event becomes negligible. And it's really cool to think about where that future could be. I am already got vision of putting some of our Thrive poles that we have out in public spaces and parking lots. And instead of just putting your typical fixed cameras, a few PTZs, maybe at the top of it is a tethered drone that goes up 5,000 feet, 2,000 feet, and is looking at a much larger area where it's tethered and the power doesn't become an issue. There's a lot of cool things that are coming our way. And I just want you to know, and our partners to know, we are a truly open platform. So as those come on, we have no problem adopting to what meets those threats.
That's great. I think that's an exciting future. I mean, that's, I've put together some ideas and presentations as a product manager, around ideas like that. I mean, I think the sky's the limit, really, not to make a pun there with the drone. But I mean, just imagine what you can do, with these enhanced robotics that are really just a short way in the horizon, not far off. I mean, the things that we could do and save first responders' lives by having these robots respond first and to be able to rescue people, get them out of, whether they're under fire or in a fire, without causing, immediate harm to the first responders and having them right there and ready. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of lives that we're going to save in the future with this technology. And I think we do always have a healthy amount of pushback, people worried about, the Orwellian side of it, to keep it honest and keep it where it belongs, so that it's mostly positive. But I think that's all very, very exciting. So last question, I guess, and I think we've kind of covered this in a way, but I mean, this feels like you have something very unique right now. I mean, do you think that this approach and this type of platform, is this probably the future, for how we're going to look at security solutions for customers?
I do. I feel like it's time to take it serious, have that consultative approach, understand it from a customer's why, then be able to educate system integrators and MSPs to be able to take us into those meetings, knowing that we understand it with Lou's background, my technology background, to deliver something that they actually want and need. And as we grow, we're looking forward to the future's bright. And I think as long as we do this the right way, we educate along the way, and we assist with the go lives, this is smooth. It's about time that people have this all married underneath one umbrella. Lou, how about you?
I agree. I mean, we've been talking about it forever. I mean, going back to the days where we had panels and we just had enough notches on the panel to put in a relay, right? Bring that camera over here when this alarm goes off. Think about that. Think how far we've come from those days. So, this is the next big step. It's not going to go away, and whoever takes advantage of it. And Nate, I tell you, Josh, Nate's vision for this is incredible. It really is. That's what attracted me to this.
Well, Nate's been at the forefront for a long time. I've sat and watched Nate on the local news here in town before, showing off some of the latest technology and what's available to help protect customers. So Nate's a big star around here. I'm very, very proud to have you come on and talk about this. I've really been kind of watching from afar over the last year, just trying to understand better what you're doing. And this is really cool. I'm very excited for you. and I'm very excited for your team, what you're doing, what you're building. I think you're gonna have something very, very huge here. Sounds like you're already doing great. So for anybody that's watching or listening, if they want to get a hold of you and maybe see a demo or learn more about how Thrive Logic works, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, get us involved. Book us on LinkedIn, thrivelogic.ai, our website. We're going to be at ISC West. So we've got 3 locations that you can be a part of that whole experience. So we're going to be at the iPro booth. And Josh, we have invented an all-in-one camera with iPro's Umbrella chip. So an IP camera can make 4 or 5 other dumb cameras smart, and it can be your access control server free. So we're going to be showing that off for the first time. We're going to be in the Veloci Technology Center, and we're going to have a full all-in-one there that you can come experience what this means, meet the team. And then for those business leaders, large system integrator leaders, you can come and meet Lou and our leadership team up in the Venetian suite. So we're going to be launching that out next week. We encourage anybody that's interested in changing the way things are going and being more proactive rather than reactive, come book an appointment with us at ISC West.
That's exciting. So full court press. I love that. You get 3 places to see Thrive Logic at the show. That's huge. So thanks so much, Nate, for coming on. Thanks, Lou, for coming on as well. Very excited to hear about what you're doing. And on our end of it, again, we are high voltage marketing for low voltage. So I guess a little bit less important than saving lives, but we can help you get out there and promote your business so that you can help save lives at bowmanvisionmedia.com. So good luck at the show. Good luck with the rest of your journey. And for everybody else, we have a couple awesome guests next week. So we'll see you again next week. Thanks.